Get these guys in. Anybody have any questions about the timing rules that the video that you guys watched?
Hey, Greg, this is Ken. While everybody's logging in, I think if you could take just a second to maybe just go over the time and a half.
Yeah, so time and a half is basically in youth leagues and summer tournaments when you basically a central horn sounds and all the games start at the same time. That is, I just report you have a 1 minute foul or a 30-second foul or a 2 minute foul. Basically, I leave it up to the people at the table to figure out what time and a half is. That's not really a federation rule. That's a youth modification. If you're doing a high school game, even if you're in running time, it's a minute penalty or a 30-second penalty or a 2 minute penalty.
Okay.
And that penalty will begin on the next whistle beginning play. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does make sense. And I guess if that clock is running, then the time that you call them is, and then time and a half is just that clock running. Does it?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, basically what they're saying is, you know, we're trying to speed it, you know, we're trying to make sure that the kid's out for enough time that it's essentially a punishment
Yep.
on the team. The rules committee did all these studies, and basically time and a half for the next whistle resuming play, it's kind of a wash. And it's easier to just say, hey, it's a 1 minute penalty, a 30-second penalty. You guys kind of figure it out. But that's one of those things where I look up in the rules just to make sure, are we doing that? The key is, for whatever way you're doing it, penalties always begin on the next whistle resuming play. So that may be the man up. You know, 99% of the time it will be the man up.
Got it.
And so, you know, unless you've got like a, you know, crazy situation. All right, if you're watching on the same device, all good. The key thing is you're watching. So you guys are all set. All righty. Well, it is 7:06, so we're going to begin. Let me do this, and I'm going to. Substitution restarts. Positioning. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. All right, you guys seeing positioning, settled, and transition?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, guys. This is the meat and potatoes of what it means to be a referee. Right now, a lot of what you're doing is trying to figure out the rules. You know, you're sort of reading the rule. We'll talk next week about what foul to call, what our options are, what our philosophy is on that. This is the real, where are you supposed to be standing and what are you supposed to be looking at? Okay. And that's a really key thing that we want to be paying attention to. So, a couple of rules here. You want to beat the ball to the goal line, okay? And the end line and the sideline. You as officials, we want to stay outside of the play so that you and your partner keep this really wide triangle between you. each of those guys is going to have different responsibilities, which we'll get into later. You want to focus on your responsibilities, not your partner's. And you want to anticipate where you want to go next, right? Where might the play be taking you? Because you want to put yourself into a position where you can officiate the play, okay? You will hear me say this a lot. You can be in the right spot and get it wrong, and no one's going to argue with you. But if you're in the wrong spot and get it right, nobody's going to believe you. You know, you've got to show them that you put yourself in the best position to make the call. And that's going to go a long way to making your games run smoothly. There's two basic officials, if you remember from our terminology last week. We have the lead official. That is the official that is down towards the goal where the ball is. We always say that the lead runs. You have got to get ahead of these guys. Now, you know, I'm a 53-year-old man. I do a little more anticipating than I used to do. So, you know, you've got to recognize that you tend to have a little bit of a head start because you're keeping the play in front of you. But there are times when you're going to really need to use your speed. For those of you guys doing youth ball, you're going to think that these, you know, 11-year-olds, you know, I play high school lacrosse. Like I'm a starter on the varsity. I can really run. The ball can move a lot faster than you can. And when you get teams that are good and can really pass and catch, you gotta get on your horse and go. The lead is essentially responsible for everything until his partner gets into position. So we often say that this is a one-man game until the lead is in position. Right? On a change of possession, the lead's going to get up to the midline. And you kind of want to stay a zone ahead of the ball. I'll show you what that means in just a second. The trail official, his primary responsibility is the goal behind him, right? So not the goal that is being played, but the goal behind him. The trail jogs. The trail is in no rush to get up because his buddy is up front taking care of that goal line responsibility. So the trail is going to come up even slightly behind the ball, right? The trail official has the 4 count and the 20 count. The lead is going to have the 10 count. We'll get into that in a second. The most important responsibility that the trail has is that the trail watches the shooter. If the lead is responsible for the goal and the play at the goal and whether there's a score, he cannot be also watching what's happening to the person that's shooting. You know, these big hits happen, and if you're ball watching as an official, you're the only person in the stadium that's not going to see some kid get blown up. It's really important to focus on your responsibilities. It is a good idea to physically say that to yourself while you're out there. Trail watches the shooter, trail watches the shooter. I say that on my pre-games for high school. I say that in my pre-games for college, right? This is something that it's the unforgivable sin, okay? Now, there are essentially 4 places to be, okay? The trail is going to be at the top of the box and what we call 5 yards in and 5 yards up. So this basically puts you at the 35-yard line at the hash marks. Okay, that's where the trail official on this side of the field is going to be. The lead official is going to be on goal line extended. I don't tend to like to be right on goal line extended. I tend to like to be a little bit below goal line extended. That's my personal preference. That being said, depending upon what happens with the play, I might slide up, I might slide down. We'll talk about all those options. This is the basic positioning though, right? If the ball goes to the end line, that lead official down here in goal line extended has to go to the end line to officiate that play. Same thing with going to the sideline. The lead official on the bench side here, the bottom of your screen, he's got that entire sideline. The trail official at the top of your screen, he's got the midline initially, and then he's got the far sideline, right? If there is a change of possession, The trail official is going to go to the cone if they're on the far side, and probably to the wing line if they're on the bench side. And you're gonna make sure that team's not offsides. You're gonna count the number of players, see the play that's happening there, and if you are 100% sure that that ball is going to cross the midline and go down into your offensive zone, you're going to hustle it down to goal line extended, where you become the new lead. If you're the lead official back on our left side here, right? Well, this guy's going to be responsible for the end line. That old lead, now new trail is the way we phrase it. He's going to end up at the wing. He's going to have what we call secondary offsides, right? This is one of those things where we're going to count and then we're going to count again. Then he's going to slide himself in, top of the box, 5 yards in, 5 yards up, 35-yard line right at the hash marks. You are going to do this 1,000 times a game, right? If you are anywhere that's not one of these places, you probably want to figure out how to get to one of these places. So these are good places to remember to be. So let's see what this looks like, right? So here we have the lead official on the right side and the trail official. The direction of play is going towards the lead official, right? We're going to move in and out in order to sort of put ourselves in the best position. As the ball goes away from us, we might move a little closer to the crease as play allows. If players come with us, or there's, we might be in a passing lane, we're going to back out. If the ball goes to the sideline, we're going to go to the sideline and then we're going to come back in. If it goes to the end line, we're going to go to the end line and then come back as play allows. Trail official does a lot of the same stuff, right? He's going to go to the sideline and work his way back. If the play goes towards the midline, he's going to go to the midline. And if play goes in the opposite direction, there's a change of possession, a turnover, he's going to become the new lead official, which means our old lead becomes the trail and he's going to go to the cone, right? Once he's clear that nobody's offsides, he's sort of checked all the other things he needs to check, he slides into position for settled play. And like I said, we do this over and over again. So let's watch this video clip. And we're clearing the ball from left to right here. The trail official is coming up the field. The lead official has released and is now getting down to the end line. This is a shot out of bounds. So it's who gets the ball, when and where the ball goes out of bounds. So let's watch that again. So here the trail is slightly ahead of the ball, but nobody's really putting any pressure on it. You don't want to be any further up ahead than this guy, right? You can actually see this official think for a second, hey, maybe I don't want to start running, right? And he's just going to jog up following the play. And you can see now the lead official was on the 50-yard line on the cone. Right? And he's releasing because he knows, so he's right up here. He's releasing because he knows this ball is going to be cleared, and now you got to hoof it down to the end line, right? So this, by the way, is why we do a 3-man crew on varsity games and in college, right? Because, you got a long pole taking a shot, that ball can really whip down there. And if you're not close enough, it's hard to sell that you got the call right, okay? The two other responsibilities that these guys are going to share, besides being lead and trail, is being what we call the on official and the off official, okay? This is sort of really, really key stuff here, okay? We only want one guy watching the ball. And when I say the ball, I don't mean the actual ball. I mean the player playing the ball and those in his immediate vicinity. The other official has to be responsible for absolutely everything else. We can't have two guys watching the same thing, okay? Most calls are going to be made by the on official. You're going to pushes, holds, slashes, trips, illegal body checks. Again, the off official is going to have illegal screens, interference, shenanigans off the ball. But we need a set of eyes watching those other guys, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to divide the field. We're going to divide the box area in half at a 45-degree angle. Everything in blue here is the lead official. If the player with the ball is in that blue area, that's the lead official's responsibility, which means the trail becomes the off official. The trail official is responsible for everything in this yellow area. So from the restraining line up, the alley, and that 50% of the box, okay? As the ball moves, the responsibilities will shift. It doesn't matter whether the ball is passed, it doesn't matter whether the ball is carried, right? This is what's going to happen, okay? Your responsibilities are going to shift. So it's, if you guys, you know, you've heard your coaches say, get your head on a swivel, you know, when you're playing defense. It's kind of what you need to be doing when you're playing, when you're officiating, right? And when am I about to be the on official? When am I about to be the off official? Now there is kind of a no man's land. And it's right along this area where the blue area and the yellow area sort of meet. My rule of thumb is that if you can see the front of the player, you're the on official. If you're looking at the back of the player, you become the off official, okay? So here's an example. Ball's up here, right? Trail official is clearly the on official in this case. That's in his zone. The lead official has got the yellow. He's got everything else. Now, you know, you've got to sort of, you can't put yourself in a position where you're so wide that you can get everybody in your field of view. So you might have to sort of cheat a little bit and get the most. Again, head on a swivel. As the ball moves here, right, responsibilities are going to shift. In this case, the lead official now becomes the on official, and the trail official becomes the off official. So here is a video where we can really see kind of what's going on.
So you'll notice the trail official in the lower left-hand side of your screen and the lead official in about the middle of your screen during settled play. So let's talk about the trail official as the ball moves around the field. Right now, he's just a little lower than the wing line, and he's in what's known as the 5-by-5 square, just about 5 yards above the box, 5 yards in to the field, or 5 yards outside the field, using the wing line as a reference point. And the trail official is right now, he's the on official. So he's watching this player. He watches the shooter all the way through, and the eyes stay on the shooter. Turning our attention to the lead official, he's off right now. But as the play comes to his side of the field, now he's the on official. Now he's dropping below goal line extended to watch the play. And now he's the off official as the ball is in the trail side of the field. So again, we're going to watch this shot and notice the different responsibility. The lead has his eyes on this shooter, but as soon as it shoots, he's got the whistle out of bounds and the signal along the end line. So now, having watched this clip, let's flip over and take a look at how we can diagram out lead and trail.
So
you'll notice
if we look at this, we've got this guy as the lead and this guy as the trail. Those responsibilities will shift throughout the entire game. Note that these guys are, I'm going to just keep playing it and keep them muted. Note that these guys are, they're not setting their feet in stone and standing there. Look at the trail. He's moving a little bit to get a better angle. I call it sort of the 3-yard cha-cha, right? You move a couple of steps this way to get a better angle. You move a couple of steps that way to get a better angle. You keep yourself engaged in making sure your sight lines are correct and that you're looking at what you're supposed to be looking at. Here is an example. We see the ball being passed around. The officials are moving in order to give themselves the best view. Do you see how the lead official here is he's in the end zone, right? He's giving himself the opportunity to see what's happening on this play. He knows he needs to crash to the crease if anything happens. He comes into the crease as the ball moves away from him. So again, be dynamic is the thing that we tend to tell guys. When you're officiating good teams and everybody can catch and throw, it's pretty easy to figure out kind of the type of offense they're going to run, what people want to do. And so you can much more easily anticipate. When you were doing the Tiny Tots versus the Mighty Mites, it is actually very difficult to officiate because they will make random decisions that sort of don't make any sense, right? So here's the lead and settled play. If you look at the image on the left, look how close that official is to the crease. He's 2 to 3 steps and he's gonna be standing in the crease. And that's because all the players have sort of moved to the other side of the field. That's sort of where you want to be, right? Again, on this line, we call goal line extended, that doesn't really exist. A little bit above, a little bit below. We'll talk more about that on the field day that we've got coming up. Right? So you can move in as the play comes. If play is coming to the crease, you want to crash the crease and be standing right there to make sure that nobody's in the crease when they're not supposed to, whether contact with the goalie was illegal, does the ball go in the goal, all of those things. The sweet spot for me is kind of this area, about halfway from the numbers to the hash marks, okay? If you're out by the numbers for most of your game, you are way too far away to officiate the crease. You've got to get comfortable being in there with bodies. And it doesn't mean that nobody can be in front of you. As play goes to the crease, you can sort of slide underneath players or around players because you've just got to put yourself in the best position to see what's happening. So when I say lead positioning, essentially this guy can't see anything right now, right? So he's got to put himself in a position where he can see what's happening as this shot is taking place. Now he could slide up, he could slide below, but you can't just say, oh, I got blocked out here. Okay. Again, be dynamic, right? Move to get the best look at the play. If you're in the passing lane, you can actually back out towards the corner of the goal or the corner of the field where the cone is. You don't have to just be on goal line extended, right? What you want to do is once you're not in the way anymore, you can move back into position to make sure that you have the best view. The key here is to start to anticipate the next pass. If you've played lacrosse, if you're familiar with lacrosse, this will be pretty easy to you. You'll kind of figure out, oh, I know what they're going to do. They're going to swing the ball to the weak side. They're going to run a double pick. They're going to run this guy off the pick. You know, the middy's going to dodge and he's either going to take the shot or pass it off to that guy coming off the double pick. And then they'll do it again. You've got to be aware of what's happening there. If you're not familiar with lacrosse, watching games can be really helpful. And if you need help with that, I can get you set up and point you in some directions. I'll be sending out some game film in the next email right after this call, right? Again, trail moves up, anticipates the pass, understands that he's going to be the on official in this case. All right, let's take a look at this guy. So we're dodging, we're shooting, lead official comes in, signals goal, he's right there when it happens, okay? This is good dynamic play. Pass it off to the other side, dodge, he recognizes he's crashing. Right. Here is another example. Again, both officials do a nice job. Look how we move to the sideline, like might have a play at the sideline. So the trail is going to pinch the sideline. Lead officials getting out of the way of the pass. So let's watch that again. The trail official here does a very nice job. So I'm talking about this guy right here. Do you see how he moves towards the sideline in order to get himself the best view of what's happening? So, what's everybody trying to do here? They're trying to shoot, they're trying to score. The thing we want to be paying attention to is what are our jobs when the ball is shot, right? Remember, a shot ends when it goes out of bounds, goes in the goal, comes to rest, is possessed by another player. So that could be an offensive player or a defensive player, but possession is carrying, cradling, passing, or shooting. The lead official is responsible for the goal. So on a shot, right, he's going to crash the goal to see if there's a save, to see if there's interference, to see if there's a goal. That's his primary responsibility. The trail is going to watch the shooter. I like to point out, if you're the lead official, you should not know who shot the ball. And if you're the trail official, you should not know if the ball went in the net. Okay. If everybody's doing their job, you may not have a lot of information at the end of a play. If it's a goal, you will hear a whistle, you'll look at your partner, you'll see him put his arms up. If it's not a goal, you're going to keep doing your job, but you can't miss the goal and you can't miss watching the shooter to make sure he doesn't get destroyed. And so we have to divide up these responsibilities. This is what you're not going to do well. If you are a player, you tend to watch the ball because that's what you want to get. If you are a fan, you tend to watch the ball. As an official, we cannot ball watch. And I watch hours and hours of game film. I can tell what you're looking at by where the brim of your hat is pointing on film. So if you say you're looking over here, but the brim of your hat is pointing off to the right, you're not looking where you need to be looking. That is something that really you do have to say, I've got the crease, I've got the crease, I've got the crease, I've got the shooter, I've got the shooter, I've got the shooter. All right, let me go back. Hold on. So this is a heck of a move. If you're not in kind of perfect position, if you're not real close to this play, you're not going to see whether he's in the crease. That offensive player is not allowed to be in that crease. We've got to have another guy watching to see if there's a push here, because it's clear that there's potential contact on the back. There's not in this particular situation, but this is what you'd be thinking if you saw this play. So the trail is focused on the shooter and whether or not there's illegal contact on him. The lead is responsible for what's going on with the feet and the crease, and is this a good goal? If it goes past the goal, he's going to go to the end line to make the call, right? You got to get close to being comfortable, because this stuff happens quickly, and you want to make sure you see all of this. So let's talk a little bit about transition. So let's say a goal is not scored, and now we're going to be going the other way. You know that the lead and the trail are going to flip responsibilities, but let's see what's going on here. So we have a shot. The goalie makes the save. The lead is crashing. Okay. Now, this will be your general introduction to counts. We'll go into this much more in depth. You'll sort of watch this video for homework. Once the goalie has possession in the crease, carrying, cradling, passing, shooting, he's got 4 seconds, and it's a visual count. So you go 1 Mississippi. Again, you're just giving the visual, but I'm giving you a sense of what a second is, right? It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. That ball's got to be out of the crease. He can throw it, he can step it out, he can toss it out on the ground. It just has to be out of the crease within 4 seconds, right? At the same time as the defense gains possession, in this case, the goalie, you start a 20-second count where the team has to get it over the midline, right? So the trail official has all of that going on. Again, we'll talk about that in its own presentation. The new lead needs to get to the cone. He's on the far side, and he's going to make sure that our teams are not offsides, that there's no shenanigans happening, but he's also anticipating that the ball's going to be going the other direction. He needs to start heading that way, and this is the place that he goes. Lead's got to stay ahead of the ball, right? So as the ball comes up, in this case, it is abundantly clear that blue is going to clear the ball. So he is allowed to release early. If it is contested at the midline, the only person that can officiate that is the new lead, right? Now the trail is going to come up to that wing area and check for secondary offsides. The reason we're going to go over here is you've got players coming in and out and onto the field and substituting. I have been run over numerous times. I have seen people break shoulders. I have been the small person running into the very large person and not been the better for it. So we want to make sure that this area we call sort of the Bermuda Triangle, you kind of want to stay out of there, right? And so that's why as the trail comes up, we kind of stick to the wing line. You can then make sure the teams are on sides, that everything's good. And once you're satisfied, you're going to jog into position. I call this the TV jog. You really never want to be walking on a lacrosse field ever as an official, right? It looks like you're being lazy. It looks like you're uninterested. It looks like you don't care. It's just a really bad look. So as you're coming up, you kind of want to do the TV jog. You want to just, get to your spot, stop, count, see what's going on, and then you're going to jog into position. And I'll show you some good video clips to give you a sense of that. So, new lead, staying ahead of the ball. The new lead has the 10 count. A team has 10 seconds to get the ball once they have possession on their offensive side of the field. So they have crossed the midline and they have possession. They have 10 seconds to get it in the attack box. Okay. And so you'll see the new lead giving this count. We'll watch this again. So you see how he releases. He recognizes that we've got a fast break here. He's counting. We're in the box, shot. What does he do? He keeps running to the goal. One of the things I want you to know, in a two-man game, sometimes you get caught in these positions. You don't want to signal goal 40 yards away. You want to run to the spot and give the signal, okay? Let's take a look at this one. This is an example of what we don't want to do. So in this case, this official has gotten caught. Can anybody tell me if that was a goal?
No way, bro.
Well, here's the deal. One coach is going to love your answer. One coach is going to hate your answer. You got a 50-50 shot of getting this right from this position. And nothing good's going to come of being 40 yards away. Now, I've probably watched this clip 200 times. You're about to see it in slow-mo, and I still can't tell. All right, let's get up here. So White's clearly on a fast break. Shot. Okay, so this is another teaching moment. If you don't think your games are going to be videotaped, you got another thing coming. You can be doing a Mighty Mites versus the Tiny Tots game, and that game's going to be videotaped. Okay. They're going to have huddle filmed. They're going to have 19 different angles. Be in the right spot, and not a lot of people can argue with you, right? You at least have the thing to fall back on, which is, coach, I was right there. If you're not right there, you have just opened up a can of worms. Okay. Now you're gonna get caught. You're gonna trip. You're gonna run into somebody. You're gonna not anticipate. It's gonna be a crazy play, and you're gonna find yourself 30 yards behind the play, running to get into position. If you can minimize the amount of time that happens to you, it will go a long way in your officiating career. So here's the classic example again. What is the lead official looking at? He's looking at the goal, and when the ball goes past the goal, he's turning to officiate the shot at the end line. What he cannot be looking at is this big hit right here. This may be a legal hit. This may be an illegal hit, but it is not his responsibility to make that call. It is the trail's responsibility. All righty. Again, we talked about responsibilities on a shot. So when we have the shot, you want to go to the end line and be looking right down the end line. Don't go to where the ball is. Go to the spot that's going to give you the best angle to see this. Okay. It's not, remember, you have to be in bounds to be a legal player. You have to be properly equipped. You have to have your cross and be wearing all the stuff you need to be wearing. And it's when the ball goes out of bounds and where the ball goes out of bounds that it is the closest player. Okay. The trail cannot help the lead official on this call. This is stuff that you have to live or die on your decision, right? And it's going to be on video. So if you keep screwing these up, that gets sent into assigners and trainers and to you and all that stuff, right? But get into position so that you can make the best call. And remember, it's not the cross, it's the body of the player. So here is an example. Ref does a great job getting into position. As the ball is picked back up, he slides back into where he needs to be, which is coming into crease coverage. He's in that, right around those hash marks is the best place to be. When it goes to the sideline, he goes to the sideline, right? Trail is going to watch the shooter. If the ball goes to the sideline, you got to run to the sideline. Don't, try to give yourself a little bit of space so that you can see. You can always run also out of bounds. If you get out of bounds, you can actually get yourself a nice little view to see what's happening. Right. All right. First of all, any questions on that?
So this is Ken. I've got a quick question.
Sure.
If you're on the line as the lead,
yep,
and you're on the end line, it seems really tough to get back to GLE if there's a pass from goal line to a cutting attack. Like,
yeah,
that seems impossible.
Well, two-man is really, it's a reason we don't do two-man in high-level games. You don't, if the ball goes to the end line and it's clearly going to go out of bounds and you've got that mass of players diving towards it, that's when you really need to be on the line.
Okay.
If you're 100% sure who's going to be closer, take a couple of steps, right? If you are, if you are not sure it's going to go out of bounds, give yourself an angle so that you can see that end line and still officiate the play.
Okay.
Because again, you got to split the difference as to what's my responsibility. What's more important, the end line or the goal? The goal is more responsible.
Perfect. Yeah.
In a two-man game or a three-man game, the lead goes to the end line and the single official takes over goal line responsibilities. Got it. Right. I mean, and that's the big difference. You've got to sort of decide what's going on. The more game film you watch, and for homework, you're going to watch a game film where I basically narrate the first quarter of a game that I did like 2 years ago with another guy who's really solid. So you'll see sort of what we're doing and how we're like running really hard here, but not necessarily doing it in this situation, right? We're still moving, we're still giving ourselves the best angle, but we're not selling out because, we know that guy's got the ball. He's there. It's going to be fine.
All right, another super quick question. So I posted this on the chat, but like when we're trail and lead,
yep,
we communicate a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Is it just...
Let me tell you, the most important tool you have as an official is your voice. If I'm unclear what the responsibilities are, I may yell, "I've got ball, I've got ball." Okay. I got the ball, I got the ball, I'm on. Or I may yell, I'm off. I got the high crease. If it's a three-man, it gets even more convoluted in a three-man game because there's a lot of overlap, which is good because you can see stuff, but you still have to communicate who's got the ball. So you can do a lot of talking on the game.
Okay.
That is you never assume. And if I'm working with somebody who's new, I'm going to be watching the brim of your hat and probably fishing in your pond a little bit, seeing what you're looking at and what you're doing, right? Because I want to make sure we don't miss the big stuff. As you move up the ranks, I'm going to be responsible for me and you're going to be responsible for you.
Understood.
Yeah, and that just, it comes with reps and it comes with time. But again, one of the most important things you can do is use your voice and communicate, right? All right, anybody else got a question? All right, we're gonna get, I think the next presentation is pretty short. We'll get through that one really quickly, and then we will jot into a little break, take a second to stretch our legs, and then we'll finish up with our last presentation. So let's do out of bounds and share my screen again. Okay. Are you guys seeing out of bounds and offsides?
Yep.
All right. All righty. So again, loose ball out of bounds, touching on or beyond a boundary line, breaking the plane or breaking the plane is awarded to the team that did not last touch it. Again, somebody takes a shot and it's going out of bounds and it passes through the plane of the sideline or the end line. You're not going to wait until it touches something, right? Don't wait until it hits, Billy's mom's car and parking deck C. We know who's closer. We know who should get the ball. We just award possession. That being said, if a ball is like floating up in the air, somebody can dive from out of bounds or from inbounds and still play that ball. Player in possession, out of bounds, if player or cross touches the boundary or beyond, you just give the ball to the other team. And then a shot, of course, is inbounds player closest to where and when it went out of bounds. Now, let's talk a little bit about mechanics. Like we've talked about what that rule is. but let's talk about what we're going to actually do on the field. This is one of those things that if I'm working with a new official that I don't know, I'm going to be paying attention to this, because this is going to tell me a lot about who they are as an official. Are they kind of loosey-goosey? Are they half-assing it? Like, this is going to tell me that they're into this and they know what they're doing. First thing we're going to do is that hand is going to go straight up in the air, and you're going to blow your whistle to indicate that the ball's out of bounds. The hand up in the air, and I'm talking like way up in the air. I am not talking, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. For the old people in the audience, this is ooh, Mr. Carter. This is not the Law and Order, swearing on the Bible. Okay. You want that hand up there because if you are at a place where the clock is being kept in the press box and the windows are shut and the AC is on and they're chitty chatting away, they need to see this. This is the dead ball signal. That means you just killed the clock, right? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to let everybody know who's getting the ball. Don't say green, don't say white ball, green ball, red ball, blue ball. Okay. And we're going to hold that point for a second. Because if my partner's doing his job, he's not watching what I'm watching. Right. So he's going to need a second to kind of look over and be like, all right, am I the new lead? Am I the new trail? Are we staying here? Like, what's going on? So you're going to hold that point, and then you're going to put your hand back up in the air because we're not ready to play. We need to make sure that somebody's got the ball, that they're in bounds, that they are in possession of the ball, that no other offensive players are within 5 yards. And that your partner's ready, right? Once you are ready to begin play, and that usually takes 4 to 5 seconds. They might need to go get a ball because it went out of bounds. They may need to pull it out of the fence. They may need to get it from under a bush. Whatever it is they're doing, they get the ball. I'm going to wind the clock in, and the winding of the clock is a backstroke. I'm going to do it at least 2 times. Because again, I want to give a good signal to the people up in the press box, and I'm going to blow my whistle in. This is something that you can practice. You will do this 1,000 times during a game. I see a lot of guys, they blow their whistle, they point, they put their hands down. I don't know if we're ready to play. I don't know what direction the ball's going in. I was watching the shooter. Now I'm completely confused, and I may have to stop play and be like, is it green ball? Like what's going on? Remember that if you are going to be a good official, you are communicating information to all the people that need that information. You're letting coaches know, you're letting players know, you're letting your partner know, you're letting the press box know, you're letting the scorekeeper know. Make sure that you're communicating that information efficiently, which is why we do these signals. Okay. You're going to do this every single time that you officiate. So here's a perfect example of this.
In this video, we're going to look at out of bounds mechanics for the lead and the trail official. So to get an example of a correct out of bounds whistle and restart, we're going to look at the lead official here as white takes a shot on goal and it misses going out of bounds on the end line. So here the white player passes to his teammate. We have a miss out of bounds, and now a nice, easy out of bounds here for the lead official. He does a very fine job signaling and restarting play. Let's look at that one more time. Here's the shot. Dead ball signal with the whistle, a directional point, and then hand back up to signal dead ball and to be ready for the ensuing restart.
So that's what you want to do every single time, right? Again, don't give people opportunities to get confused. Make sure you're giving them clear information to allow them to do what they need to do. Question that came up, Mason asked, if the ball rolls and touches but does not cross the sideline, as soon as the ball touches the line, it's out of bounds. As soon as you step on the midline, you are now on the other side of the field. As soon as you step on the sideline, you are now out of bounds. If your tippy toe touches the crease, you're in the crease. Okay. So the phrase we use is lines are hot. If you step on it or touch it, that's where you are.
In this video, we're
All right, here's another example. So ball goes out of bounds here. It's a missed pass. The new trail official puts his hand up in the air. We've got to let our partner get over to the cone, right? Now we're in transition. So let's watch this again. Hand up, point, puts his hand back up, waiting for everybody to get ready, and the new lead gets to where he needs to be before play gets restarted. Again, we've seen this clip before. Picks the ball up, gets pushed out of bounds, whistle. We're going to award the ball to another team. We've talked about the shot. I put a lot of this stuff in there in case you're just watching this bit and not having watched the other stuff. So we do have some repeat stuff here. All right, here's another good example. Ball out of bounds. So here's a clear example of what we were kind of talking about, is when this shot happens, we'll stop it right here. Do we know who's going to get this ball? White's going to get this ball. Red's not even close to the end line, right? They're not really contesting this shot going out of bounds. They're not anywhere near it. Everybody in the stadium knows that White's going to get this ball. So you could take a couple of steps, put your hand up, blow your whistle, white ball, hand back up, and now we're going to restart play. You don't have to run to the line every single time in order to make sure you get the call right. This is one of those examples where everybody knows who's getting it, and so we're just gonna give the information. We gave ourselves a nice angle to see the play. It was not contested, and so it's a pretty easy call to make. So let's talk about those lines. Let's remind ourselves of those line responsibilities, right? Ball's going this way. The lead in this case has the far sideline and this end line. And most importantly, the goal line. The trail official in this case has the bench side. He's got the midline. And he's got this end line when he becomes the new lead official. The trail, as he comes up, is also going to have the midline, right? So kind of when you're there, you're responsible for it. And then he's going to come in and be responsible for his sideline and the goal behind him. Right? So you want to move to put yourself in a position to see that play. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 steps. Sometimes it's you're getting all the way to the line. We had a question: are you rotating your arm more than once to wind the clock in, or just doing a semicircle as the ref in the video? I tend to do it twice, right? So I give one of these, right? Just to make sure everybody sees the signal. All right, here is another video clip. This is our lead official is crashing down to the goal. Now, the goalie and the player in black are kind of even with each other. Why does the goalie get the ball here? Why is why is the other player awarded the ball here? Watch where the ball actually goes out of bounds. Ball goes out of bounds over here. Who's closer? Goalie's a little bit ahead of him by a step, but it's where the ball goes out of bounds. It's towards the far sideline. right? Goalie gets 5 seconds to return to the crease if you have a stoppage of play. Hands up, we point the direction, hands back up, we wind it in. That's how quickly a restart can take place, right? Now we've got transition going the other way. And we're coming back. Right, so the lead became the new trail and then became the new lead again. It can get pretty hectic. Ready signals. If you are not the official that is bringing play in, it means all you need to do is communicate to your partner that you were either ready, in which case you were going to point in the direction of play. So if we're going this way, I'm just going to put my hand out and be like, I'm ready. If I'm not ready, I'm going to put my hand up. That's the stop signal. If I'm really not ready, I'm going to put 2 hands up. Okay. So you're either pointing or not ready and you have your hand up. It doesn't matter if your partner looks at you. That's the other thing that I tend to look at when I'm working with a new official. Are they giving the ready point every single time, right? So let's introduce offsides here. A team is offsides if they have more than 7 defensive players, and a team is offsides if they have no more than 6, or you're not allowed to have more than 6 offensive players. I tend to not count the goalie because we have to have a legally equipped goalie in order to play the game. The key here is ABC, always be counting, right? It is not offsides if you have too few players. Coaches, players will be like, they only have 2 back. They only have 2 back. There's no advantage to only having 2 guys behind me, right? It's only having an extra guy that gives you an advantage, right? So the new lead is going to have what we call the quick offsides. As you're running down the field, trying to stay ahead of the ball, what I do is I tend to count the midfielders who are coming over. I know I've got 3 attackmen, 3 defensemen, and a goalie, right? So forget the goalie. I know I've got 3 attackmen, which means only 3 players can come over on the offensive side. If there's more than 3, I'm going to kill the play. If the defensive guys are coming over, I know I have 3 defenders down there. If more than 3 defenders come, if there's possession, I'm going to have a flag. Okay. You want to count the offensive team first. It is a lot easier to score if you got an extra guy. I don't want to have to pull a goal off the scoreboard because I didn't count right. I will do it because that's the right thing to do, but I want to count the offense first because it's easier for me to say, oh, you got too many guys. I got to kill this before anything crazy happens. Then I'm going to count the defense, which means in a lot of situations, I may be late calling offsides on the defense. A team may be screaming and yelling at me. They're offsides, they're offsides, they're offsides. Why aren't you calling this? I'm counting the offense first, and then I'm going to count the defense. And I'm probably, if I think it's offsides, going to count a second time to make sure that I'm right. Okay. So no more than 7 defensive players, no more than 6 offensive players. Always count forwards. I am completely uninterested in what's happening behind me. Okay. Again, remember, it's a 1-man game until the trail's in position. So in transition, the lead's got to count all those players. He's got the 10 count. He's got all the play, the goal, the players, and then the trail is coming up slowly, and he's kind of got the big picture. And when he's in position, then we're all set. Count offensive players. And then we got the 7th, right? Trail's going to count again, right? Everybody should be counting. If the offense is offsides, you give the signal, you award the ball to the defense. We're going to stop play, wait for a restart to happen. And then once we're ready for the restart, blow the play in. The other crewman should, if we're good to go, you should be giving the ready signal saying, hey, we're going the other direction. I'm ready. let's get this going. You know, 3 defensemen assume the goalie. As the ball comes in, you're going to count 4, 5, and 6. And then we got an extra 7th guy, right? In this case, that's going to be a flag down. It's essentially a free play for the offense. If they score, you wipe out a technical foul. If it's a personal foul, they will serve that. But we'll talk about that next weekend, right? Everybody counts. Always be counting. Okay. So what just happened here? We're coming up. Right, we're riding. White is trying to clear the ball. He clears. Is this guy on the other side of the field? Is this blue player on the offensive side of the field?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting with 1 right there. If I'm watching this play, I'm not waiting to see what happens. I'm like, he's 1. This next blue player is 2. Right. Again, cross or any, not as cross, but any part of his body that's on the other side, he's now offsides, right? If there are 6 guys playing defense plus a goalie, he's the 7th, right? That's the kind of stuff you want. If you ever see anything weird, if you ever see a player just sort of randomly run off the field and you're like, why did that guy run off the field like that? To me, I'm thinking he's 1. And then I'm going to go through the field and count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and see if there's a 7th. Don't count with your fingers, right? We don't want to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Some guys count in 2s, some guys count in 3s. But you want to count in your head. You don't want to count pointing your finger. Okay. Here's another example. All right, did this red player step over? He's riding. Now he's over, so he's 1, 2, and we're gonna count and see who's left. All right. So we're clearing the ball. Blue clears, but you got to watch that white player. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blue players. Offsides. Count offense first. Right? Always be counting. Let's watch that one again. This blue player thinks he can take it over. And the other guy follows him, making him the 7th player. Oftentimes, for those of you who are not too familiar with the game, if a defensive player is taking the ball into the offensive half, somebody will often yell midi back, and they will stop at the midfield line and they will raise their stick up. That means he's like, I'm staying back for my buddy. Do not assume that makes them legal. He may be the 6th guy and he's just standing there. Right? He's just trying to make sure they don't get an offsides call. Just because people are yelling that people are offsides doesn't mean they're offsides. They're offsides. They're offsides. He stepped over. He stepped over. Well, he was the 6th guy. It doesn't matter. All right. Let's take a quick break.
So Greg, before
Yeah,
that,
go ahead. Question first.
On that one play there, so it was, the defender gets pushed offsides or gets run over. A lot of times he'll jump back and then the coach tells him to run back over because they're already offsides.
So once you're offsides, the same player can continue to be offsides until the play's over.
If a different player
If a
runs
different player goes offsides, it's a 2nd flag.
Okay. Yep.
Right. If a player's offsides and is like, oh God, I'm offsides, I'm not supposed to be on here, runs off the field and somebody substitutes for him, now you have an illegal substitution and an offsides.
Okay.
right? Yeah, we'll get into that when we talk about technical and personal fouls.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, on is over for the midline too. If you step on that line, you are considered over the midline. If you step on the crease line, you are considered in the crease. Like all lines are hot. Okay. All right, I think that's it. All right, let's take like a 5-minute break. And we will come back in a few seconds and we will finish up with substitutions and restarts. All right. All right, everybody, how we doing? We all back? All right. All right, it is 8:12, so we're going to push through this one. This is pretty quick. This isn't a huge presentation. And you'll see some good stuff that you can kind of get through if we're going a little fast. But I want to be respectful of your time and not keep you too long. So all right, let's go up here. So let me share my screen. All right, we seeing substitutions and restarts.
Yep.
All right. All right. Substitutions. Players pretty much substitute on the fly. Okay. So it's kind of like hockey, one on, one off. Okay. They have to substitute through the substitution area. That's the part of the field in the table area with the two cones. Again, remember last year it was 20 yards. Now it's going to be a 10-yard area. Player exiting the field has the right of way. And so if a guy's running right for the corner because he wants to, take the right angle, if a player is blocking that, that can be interference. A player coming off the field has the right of way. Players cannot delay entry to gain advantage. We'll talk about that. Players have to be properly equipped and must remain on sides. So if you run onto the offensive side of the field, I'm now counting you as player number one. Okay. So this is the substitution area right down here. Again, it's going to go from this 20-yard line to this 10-yard line as we move through here, but that's the substitution area. Players can be in the substitution area ready to substitute if a substitution is imminent. That means there is somebody who is planning on coming off within 5 yards. It does not mean that that player has to come off. It just means that you can't be in the substitution area if none of your teammates are within 5 yards of coming off the field. So blue guy runs off, blue guy runs on. Red guy steps off, red guy steps on. In either case, they were on sides. We're assuming they're properly equipped. And we don't have to have a stoppage of play to do this. They can just come in on the fly. So player can go all the way down to the other end and essentially teleport themselves down the field. Okay. So this white player here is his buddy's coming off, but he's going to go down to the far cone. And when his player steps off, he is allowed to step on. Now, remember, this player is not considered to be on the field until he touches something on the field. You will see a lot of coaches be like, he left early. He left early. He's not in the field until he touches something. Right. So just because he takes that step and he breaks the plane of the sideline does not mean he's actually on the field yet. Here is an example of folks substituting. So you see the two white players coming on. We've got a transition. White player is going to get off the field. A player is teleporting himself down the field in order to do it. Black player is coming off. Black player runs off. One on, one off. Here's another example. In this case, the red player runs off the field, but if you notice, watch, he comes off. Watch the red player here. He substitutes on the field, not going through the box. He just goes from his sideline onto the field. Okay. You have to come through. If you're doing a live ball substitution, you have to come through that substitution area. Right. Now, To do a restart, meaning you are going to start play because you've either stopped it for a technical foul, somebody went out of bounds, any of these things. A couple of things need to happen. Teams essentially have 5 seconds to be ready. That means they have the ball and are ready. If a player is looking for a ball, we're not going to penalize them because they can't find the ball within 5 seconds. But they can't decide, well, I don't want this. I'm going to wait for my buddy to run over here because I want him to have the ball, right? I tend to just warn guys. If it gets really crazy, I might start giving a visual 5, but I think I've maybe done this like 6 times in my 23-year career of being a lacrosse official. No offensive player can be within 5 yards of a player restarting the ball. It used to be that you could, and so guys did all this hidden ball trick stuff, and it was really insane to officiate. You're not going to restart the ball for the offense in the attack box 99% of the time. We'll talk about that. And, unless, of course, it's out of bounds, awarded shot or timeout with ball on the end line, the ball will come in at that end line. Okay. The defense can restart in their box or in the crease. We're looking for ready signals, right? We're looking for stop signs. Take a glance at your partner. If he's ready, you know that you are now capable of restarting the play. We call this the quick restart, right? Officials, we used to try to move defenders 5 yards away. Offensive players, you cannot restart. If an offensive player is within 5 yards of his buddy who's trying to restart play with the ball, you cannot. Defenders, you can restart play. They just cannot play the ball until they have given up 5 yards. Okay. The onus here is on the defender. So if I'm going to restart play and this blue player is 3 yards away and I blow the play in and he goes to engage, that's a flag down, slow whistle. Here is an example of that very thing taking place. So we have a change of possession, or player was offsides. We're going to restart play. Note. So what we have here is the white interference, right? He gets the ball and we just move on our very merry way. Here's another example. Has red given up 5 yards? And there's the flag. Nothing red is particularly doing is illegal, except the fact that he did not give up 5 yards on that restart. And the signal we use for that is delay of game. Okay, it's a 30-second technical foul. So I'll show you that again. All right, White's got the ball. He is, nobody's offensive player is not within 5 yards of him. Nobody's worried about a hidden ball trick here. Red never gives up 5 yards. Now, I will say, official in this clip does a great job. He throws his flag forwards. 90% of the time in lacrosse, we throw our flag straight up. If he threw his flag straight up, he would have to run back and go get that flag. So this is a great job throwing it forwards so that he doesn't have to do another 80-yard sprint to go get his flag. This is a clip. This was a UVA NCAA Division I game. They did the quick restart, but they had offensive players near each other. Look how confused the defense is on this restart. So that was a goal, and that was essentially the officials were the ones who confused the defense. That should not have been a restart that should have been allowed to happen, right? You can get in this move of, we're ready, we're ready, we're ready. We're not ready until the field is set, your partner's ready, and we know what's happening, okay? That's the key thing on a restart. The hidden ball trick in and of itself is not illegal. That right there is a legal play. Now, if any defender, when all those guys were together, had come up and tried to engage them, none of those guys could have moved because they would have set a moving pick, right? So for you coaches out there, if you're thinking, how is that legal? How is that legal? It's because nobody's playing them. They're allowed to stand next to each other, right? This is the hidden ball trick Navy against Johns Hopkins a couple of years ago. Right, so 55 comes in, pretends to flip the ball to 44, who starts to dodge. No one is watching number 55, and he shoots with the goalie not looking at him and scores. Completely legal play. Goalie never moves, right? Now, where we restart, we talked about a little bit, right? If the ball's here, that's a perfectly fine place to restart the ball if we're attacking this goal. If the ball's in the alley, that is a perfectly fine place to restart the ball for the offense. You never really want to start the ball too close to the line, right? Remember, a defender is not allowed to engage for 5 yards. So we don't want to give a free shot on the goalie right there. So we tend to move the ball if it gets closer to the restraining line laterally to the corners. Defense, if you have a foul on the against the defense, and you're going to award the ball to the offense, you want to move the ball laterally outside. The defense can start in the attack box. The defense can start in their own crease. But if the offense has the ball in their attacks box when a foul is committed, you're moving it laterally out into the side. You will hear me say, red ball in the alley, red ball in the alley. Here we go. We talked about the end line. If there is a shot on the end line and a timeout is called, you're going to award the ball right there. If there's a shot and the ball goes out of bounds, you're going to bring the ball right back on the end line. But that's really the only time. And so here is another example. So that whole restart, clearly a loose ball push. All you're going to do on a loose ball push is award the ball to the team that was pushed. But you're not going to start it in the box. You're going to move it out into the alley. So you hear you hear the official. This is long scrum. This is all legal contact. Until we get a hold, official comes in, gives the signal. We have a hold. All right, we're going this way. He then goes to get into position. His buddy restarts it. There's no offensive player within 5 yards. This is a quick legal restart. The one time you want to be really aware of maybe slowing down a restart is the goalie. The goalie gets 5 seconds if they're out of the crease and a restart is pending, and you can give a visual 5 seconds. Once that 5 seconds is up, if they're not back in the crease, that's their choice, right? They only get a 5-second head start. If you see that your partner just doesn't realize that the goalie's out of the crease and blows the play in, you're going to kill it. Whistle, whistle, whistle. Goalie was out of the crease. Let's move the ball back here. He gets 5 seconds. Now we're good. Now you can restart. Again, always be looking at your partner. Restarts on the end line, you want to be close enough to manage that restart, right? So if a defender is really playing somebody on the end line, you want to make sure you're there to make sure that he's going to give up 5 yards, okay? You want to make sure that that's not going to be a delay of game.
This is an example of a shot that goes out of bounds on the end line. An attacking player picks up a ball and runs onto the field to start play. The official correctly stops the restart and forces the attacking player to be established.
So what established means is you can't do a running restart. You can't come flying in from the sidelines at 100 miles an hour and get a full head of steam going. You got to come in and what I will tell players is plant your feet, plant your feet. I tell it to offensive players. I tell it to defensive players, right? I don't want the defensive guys thinking they can get away with it either. If everybody hears me saying it, they're going to know I'm not going to let it go.
The second clip shows a similar play that is restarted properly by both the player and official.
Note the lead official here makes the guy come back over to where the ball went out of bounds, right? Just because this is where he picks the ball up
Started properly by both the player and official.
doesn't mean he gets to start there. The ball goes out of bounds, comes back inbounds where it went out.
This is an example of a shot.
Again, I think we've seen this clip, right? Ball goes out of bounds, closer to the defensive side. Officials in great position. You can see him giving the 5-second goalie count. And then we restart play. If you have a restart on the sideline, again, get in position to what I call manage that restart. You want to make sure that you've got enough space in between, that people are giving up that 5-yard cushion before they engage. So get in there so you can get a good angle and see what's happening. We have a push here. We have awarded the ball to blue. We wait until he plants his feet. Nobody's within 5 yards. We restart play. So that is what happens in this clip right here. So it's pretty clear that blue gets disadvantaged here. He gets shoved out of bounds. The ball's loose. We just award possession. And we wait for him to pick the ball up inbounds. Nobody's ready to go. We're all ready to go, so we're going to start play. Quick restarts at the midline can be a little crazy. We'll get into over and back in a different section. But again, the onus is on the defender. They have to know, these rules. We can see this clip right here. To give you a little context, this will happen. You will watch this week in your counts video. Once a team has gained the attack box, they've satisfied the initial 10-second count. They're basically not allowed to bring the ball back over the midline. It's called an over and back violation. So you're going to see the official do this. So the key thing here is this is now a restart. This guy's the lead official. So he's going to have to get down there. You don't want him restarting play. His partner is going to come up and you want to watch him. So he gets the violation, takes off. You can see his partner running up and we get the restart. Nobody's within 5 yards, so it's a legal restart. We're good to go. Goalkeeper, if he gets the ball on a restart, you can just start play. I will remind people when we get to the crease is basically 9 yard radius, which means if you're an attackman, and you're putting your stick up like that, you are playing somebody within 5 yards. You're forcing them to alter. So on a free restart in the crease, the attackman cannot try to block or change the direction of that outlet pass. Other crazy areas are the restarts in the substitution box. Anytime you are restarting the ball in between these cones, it is never going to be a quick restart. This is in the Bermuda Triangle. What we do not want to have happen is a player is looking into the field and thinks that's the only person he's got to worry about, and then somebody subs from behind him and blows him up, right? So anytime you get this, what you're going to do is you're going to move them 5 yards into the field, make sure nobody else is around. You're going to get close to manage that because we're pretty far away in our big triangle here. So I tend to tell them to come. They don't know, move 5 yards in. I will say number 32, go stand on the wing line. Everybody else get away from them. Again, communication with players and coaches and everybody is really helpful. So here's a restart going to be somebody's in the crease. We're going to restart it. Off we go. So you can see we have the violation here. We're going the other direction. He picks it up. Right. I would slow this down a little bit if I were the official. But, you know, nobody's deceived. Everybody's 5 yards away. Everybody knows who has the ball, and we get the clock moving again. That's the key thing. There is one time that things get kind of weird on restarts. And that is when the ball goes out of bounds. So if you'll see up in the top right corner here, the ball goes out of bounds on this sideline. Okay, that is the new Leeds sideline, right? Because red's clearing the ball from right to left here. And so normally that would be the Leeds responsibility, except the lead needs to get to the cone, right? And so he is going to move to the cone. Now he's really far away. He's not close enough to really manage this restart. He needs help. The trail isn't going anywhere. So basically what we're doing is the new lead is giving up his whistle to the trail. And what he's going to do is he's going to put his hand up in the air and say, we are not ready to play. Trail can't really see if this guy's on the field yet, whether other people are 5 yards away. What's going on? So he is going to put his hand up and say, I will let you know with my ready point when you can blow the whistle. So this guy stays. We're not ready. Red moves away. We know blue is 5 yards away. We're on the field. We have the ball. We are ready for a restart. The trail is just looking at the lead. And as soon as his arm goes to point, he blows the whistle. This is what we call a deep restart. It should be the lead's whistle, but he's got to get down the field because he's responsible for the goal on the other end of the field. This is an example of that. So the ball goes out on the far sideline. You see the new trail official has his hand up in the air. And as soon as he gets the signal from his partner, he blows that in. And we're clearing the ball. All right, here's another example. I think this guy is too close to be. Do you see how it's really hard to see who's responsible for all of this? That should be a delay of game, right? And it's because both officials are really far away. You think, well, whose responsibility is it? I'm not really sure. No, I think I went there. I went too far. All right, gentlemen. thank you for joining us this evening. It is 8:38. So we'll take questions. If anybody's got questions, let me know. And if not, you can hop off. I will send you an email tomorrow. And we'll see what's going on. Let me see. What happens when an attackman is reaching for a ball and is pushed over the midline by a defender? Is he pushed legally over the midline by a defender? If he's within 5 yards of a loose ball and pushes that attackman from the front or the side, that is a legal play. What happens when somebody's pushed into the crease? Is he pushed from the front? That's a legal play, as long as you're within 5 yards of a ball or the player has possession of the ball. So again, we saw the video clip of the player restarting the play, running in, and the defender just pushes him out of bounds. That is a legal push, a legal play. So you can legally push people out of bounds. You can legally push people offsides. You can legally push people into the crease. Pushing becomes illegal when it's from behind or not within 5 yards of a loose ball, in which case it's interference. We're going to go over the counts. That's a separate thing that you will watch this week. So there's a separate video on counts. The reason I don't spend a lot of time on counts for adults, you're going to have to know counts. You really have to pay attention to the video on counts. And we're going to go over questions next week. For youth guys, if you're 15, you're not going to be able to referee a high school game for the most part, because you're not old enough. You have to be 2 years older than the age group that you're doing, which means you're going to be doing U12. They don't have a 10 and 20 count. They only have the 4-second goalie count. So for the youth officials, really pay attention to the counts for the questions you're going to get on the rules test and for your own edification, right? For the adults, you really are going to need to know those counts. That's going to be a lot of what you're doing. So if all this stuff that I've been talking about, now we're adding counts into it. There's a lot going on as you're moving up and down the field, but that's a separate presentation, and we'll do that. So white hat versus black striped hat. I sent you the email with the rules stuff and the uniform page, right? So take a look at that uniform page. Adults, I sent you the email. You've got a yellow shirt coming. I will give that to you on the 18th. If you're not going to be there on the 18th, I will make sure you get it. Youth officials, you need to go, if you're going to work for GLOA, you need to go buy a yellow summer shirt, and you can go on our uniform and equipment pages. It's in the last email that I sent you. Check that out. It'll be in the next email I send you too. So I would go and order one of those right now. The yellow summer shirt you can wear in the fall, in spring youth games, in summer league tournaments. That's what you're going to wear. If you plan on officiating for somebody else, you may need to buy a striped shirt, but we're not really doing the striped shirts anymore because it's too crazy. There's too many different uniforms. We're trying to limit what you need to buy. If you want to wear, if it gets cold, you can wear a long black undershirt underneath your yellow summer shirt. If it is really cold, you can wear an all black jacket. If it's got like a Nike logo or something on it, that's fine. Don't worry about that. But sort of black or the yellow shirt for youth games. For those adults who are going to do stuff in the spring with GLOA, the GHSA uniform, we will talk about that moving forward, but that is the 2-inch striped football shirt with the GHSA logo sublimated. We'll talk about that in a homework session, and we'll answer questions next week. White hat is for summer league games. As long as it is not the logo of the team that you are officiating, I don't care what kind of white hat it is. You can buy a GLOA white hat on our gear store. Again, the link is on the uniform and equipment page on GA Laxref. The black and white hat is for GHSA games. Basically the rule of thumb is you want to match your partner. So if your partner is wearing a black hat, be wearing the black hat. If your partner is wearing the white hat, wear the white hat. If your partner's wearing the yellow shirt, wear the yellow shirt, right? Same thing for, for GHSA games. If your partner's wearing long sleeves, you're wearing long sleeves. If your partner's wearing shorts, you're wearing shorts. Yeah, if for youth games, a solid black hoodie underneath is fine. But really do make it solid black, right? Solid black is kind of the way to go. All right, any other questions? All right, guys, have a great night. See you next Tuesday.